So we wanted to prove ourselves within this industry that, being fabricators in the architecture industry and being designers was not the limit to our capabilities. Is we could apply everything we knew and apply it to the build of a home. The idea was to retain this faceted structure, but also keep it simple enough where there's enough play and enough room on the inside for all the fabrication to happen. So the form of the house, there was a negotiation where it couldn't take away from the interiors couldn't take away from the exteriors. It all had to work together, and then the fabrication, being a major part of this project, also had to be complementary with the form of the house and the layout. And as you walk in, you're greeted by this large living space, which is completely open and connected to all of the other spaces in the house, which faces this grand fireplace, which is completely designed with hot-rolled steel that we fabricated and installed. So on the main floor, you have your dining area, you have like a study room where you can have meetings without having to invite people all the way into the home. And then the kitchen, it's not a huge kitchen, but it still has this grand sense of scale. On the second floor, we have 3 bedrooms, 2 of which are junior bedrooms. There's a secondary living space. In the basement, that's where the recreation room is. So there's a gym area, there's also a living space for a large screen TV, and there's a wet bar, which is completely custom designed. There's 3D concrete tiles that we designed and made. They're all parametric. So we milled them on our CNC, we cast them, and we provided integrated lighting to showcase all of those tiles. And there's also a big guest suite in the basement, along with storage areas and your mechanical room. The design of the stairs for this house was actually quite complex. It was literally like making a watch, which doesn't exist in the fabrication industry. There was so much precision that had to be involved with the design, not just the design of it, but also the making, because the way the stairs go together, the entire thing is disassemblable. So we brought this here in pieces and we assembled it, and there was some welding on site, but the whole thing is assembled to a point where you can unscrew all of the joints, all of the supports, take it apart and take it with you to the next house. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but that is possible. At the bottom of each stringer, you've got this blade of light that gives you this mood lighting for when you go up and down, but also when you just want to have your lights turned off in the living area with just your fireplace. We knew there was going to be a partition screen here. We kind of had a placeholder for it, but I knew I didn't just want to build something that is typical. It had to be contextual. It had to be connected to some of the other elements in this house. So when we designed the staircase and we detailed it, I just knew that the partition screen had to come from that. So if you notice on the partition screen, all of the vertical supports are the same type of vertical supports that we have on the staircase. So there's this direct connection as soon as you come into the house of this cohesive language across various scales that are being implemented throughout the house. We purposely didn't make the shelves too big or too deep, because the idea is not to pollute or populate that space with too much stuff. Still have it act as a partition screen, but still give enough space for little trinkets, keys, wallets, and such things for when visitors come in. But you still want to have that room divider as you come into the house. But for the light in the dining area, we custom designed and made it. The idea was to have something that's a bit more abstracted. It's more featured. In a sense. So we took the form of the house from the exterior, we brought it to the inside, then we abstracted the form where we parametrically went through iterations and created these perforations on all sides in order to create this design, and then we went ahead and fabricated it. We went with satin black stucco because when the light shines on it with the texture of the stucco, it makes my mouth water because it looks like candy, like sugar-coated candy. It's that crisp. But the other aspect we wanted to use with the dark stucco was this idea of these depressed spaces. So for example, in the balcony, you have this faceted but then depressed space that pushes into the house where you have this tension between the interior and the exterior. That's where you experience the borders of the house, and that's where it really starts to become fuzzy. those areas, we still wanted to keep that language of, the black accents, but we also wanted to use something a bit more warm. So we chose Shosugiban wood, which is genuine charred cypress, and we had this imported from Japan. So it's really tranquil, it's really soft, and it's, it's this hardened material that's zero maintenance for 20 years. But at the same time, once you handle it and you use it, it's just this fragile, soft materials that affords you this longevity. To enjoy the exterior, you actually have this massive canopy, all custom fabricated and designed by us in Corten steel. So over time, it will rust. It will become more part of nature as it goes from black to brown in a way. So while the fabrication in this house was super important for us as designers and builders of the property, it was equally important to focus on the architecture and the human experience.